Hey, good morning, everybody. It's time for our chart of the week, and we're going to be taking a look at the biggest bank in the world here, which is JPMorgan. JPM is the symbol. Let's take a look at this chart here and look at a couple of new indicators that we haven't looked at for quite some time. So, all right. So JPMorgan had a pretty volatile week last week. Of course, we can see the stock fell sharply on Monday after Jamie Dimon had talked about, his succession plans, retirement plans, and some, we see a nice 6 or 7 day up move, just basically obliterated by one day on Monday. But we went down to the 20-day moving average, which is often a spot where stocks like JPMorgan that are in strong uptrends find support. So we saw that find support there, came back and tested it on Thursday and had a really strong day on Friday and went out at the highs of the day. So what's interesting about this chart is if you go back to the April highs here, and you can see that the stock is just above there, and it fell right through it again last Monday sharply. It didn't stop until it hit that 20-day moving average, which is probably a good spot to add the stock. We do see as the stock went down, it did have some high volume on that one day, and it pulled back a little bit on lower volume. We do see volatility starting to recede a little bit. I'll show you that graphically in just a moment. Money flow, which had popped really high when the market was going up, and then right after earnings came out in April, because we see still see a series of higher highs and higher lows in JPMorgan. That has pulled back a little bit on the money flow, and it's just it's trying to slow down over here. And what I mentioned to you about volatility, which is basically the ATR at the bottom here chart, the average true range. It jumped up in April in anticipation of the earnings report. Whether it was going to be strong positive or strong negative, it didn't really much matter. But volatility has started to recede here, and you can see it started bending down in April and early May. Popped up on that one day, but it's still coming back down. So what do we say about this? We're saying that basically volatility is starting to come down, options pricing is starting to get cheap, and with this stock is basically trying to find a range, right? And so we think that this range is probably going to be somewhere between here and there on the 192 on the low side and about 200 on the high side, right? That's kind of where a lot of congestion is, or a lot of buying and selling has occurred. If the stock stays above 200, however, we could make a run at last week's all-time highs, which is about 204.5 to 205. But we could take a look at this one indicator over here, which is really one that I haven't looked at in quite a while. It's one of my old-time favorites. It's called the on-balance volume, created by Joe Granville back in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And so this shows a nice strong uptrend of on-balance volume, which is basically better volume on the up days than on the down days. And it's been steady and rising from the beginning or about the middle of January. So, all in all, JPMorgan is a great looking chart. It's got a lot of volatility over here, and you can see some of that happened back in April when the earnings report came out, but it did find some good support. It's in a rising uptrend here. The textbook definition of an uptrend is higher highs and higher lows, and it's still there. And once it gets above that the 205 area, we think it's got some room up to 225 to 230. So that's JPMorgan. Thanks very much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you guys next time.